We are counting down to the first Fed meeting of the year. The central bank widely expected to hold rates steady on Wednesday. For more on what we can expect, Ben Emons of FedWatch Advisors joins us on set. Ben, any chance the Fed doesn't hold? Is it all in what Powell has to say?
It is all what he's going to say. But, you know, market pricing at near 100% of on hold. First time since the fall of 2023, we had rates a little higher than we are today. So if he is a little bit dovish, even if it's like a tinge of it, that would be kind of a shock, right? So now would he? I think what we have to take note of is Waller, right? Chris Waller, who I think was really deviating from the cautious tone that we got out of the Fed over the last several weeks, looking at the data and saying we got to keep our eyes on the inflation ball and really pay attention to that. And he came from a completely different angle. You know, Powell has always been a little bit with him in that sense of like looking at inflation slowly declining, having confidence and feeling like this is going to continue no matter what's going on in the economy. So he will point to that. Now, I don't think he will be politically influenced. Like maybe tweets will go around and he will maybe pay attention or not. I do think, though, that he knows about the administration, what they're planning to do. So they will probably have talked about Colombia and what happened with this and how markets have reacted. And there's probably a little bit of discussion in the Fed, too. You know, you're going to have to play into this now because this is a new reality.
That was exactly what I was going to say. It's the first Fed meeting since Trump has officially been the president. And obviously Powell does not want to be and says he is not influenced by politics. But we know if tariffs come into place, then that does really change the game from the economic landscape. I mean, what should Powell say right now when they're kind of being used as threats, as negotiating tactics? Does Powell even dip his toe in that water at this point?
Not exactly that water, but what he will do is that he will take note of what they put as forecasts out in December, where there was a surprise to markets. When they raised the forecast and sort of signaled like, we're getting ready for these tariffs. They're going to impact PCE. That was the message I think a lot of people got from that. And so now we're here and we're seeing the first sort of stage of it. They're going to have to think about like, what's our policy look like from here? They will keep cuts on the table. I don't think that's off the table. I don't think they will hike near term either. So they're sort of like stuck with the data that's strong, but they are dealing with the uncertainty of this trade policy, you know, because this example of we're going to put tariffs on to Colombia and then we'll just take them off right away, it just causes uncertainty. So I think the Fed will have to play into that, meaning they're going to keep the cut on the table. I think that's their way of dealing with that uncertainty.
So that sounds to me like almost the opposite of a hawkish cut. That sounds like a dovish hold, which I guess isn't the opposite because there's no action. But I think you're pointing out that this is a consequential hold. And if I hear you right, I think I hear you say that Waller is kind of really the Fed whisperer, that maybe he's out there doing a little bit of the lifting in terms of the messaging for Powell. But it sounds to me like there's nowhere else to go but to be dovish here and to kind of come back in off of what was obviously, look, that was a very hawkish cut last month. And it was a case where markets, which were very offsides going into that CPI, tells me there's a trading range here in treasuries.
Yeah, I agree, Tim. I think that we're sort of at the low end of the range currently here at 4.5-ish. You may dip a little bit below that, but then the upside is really 480 to 5. I think that stays in place exactly for that reason. You have to actually sound dovish, like sort of leaning against this uncertainty of the tariffs, because we don't know how it exactly impacts the economy. It could push up inflation, but it could also cause unemployment because people get uncertain, don't know what to do, or don't know how to respond to what does it all mean for my consumer products that I buy every day. And so it is a dovish hold, but I don't think they're at the point that they can accelerate rate cuts. I don't think they're there. So what Waller did was sort of having, yeah, well, we won the battle on inflation. We can keep lowering rates, but that's not an accelerating rate cut cycle. So that's the hold I think we're at. Yeah.